Good morning, children. In the last video, we have studied about globalization, and in the globalization, we have seen the outcomes, positive and negative. We are carrying on this topic and moving towards the another two topic which will be studied under the globalization, that is World Trade Organization and outsourcing. World Trade Organization, if we talk about, what is it? It is an international organization which regulate the trade between different countries. It was established in year 1995 as the successor organizations under one more organization that is named General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, means GATT, GATT. GATT was actually established in 1948. That time 23 countries were the member of GATT, and they all were having just one motto, that each and every country should get equal opportunity to do the international trade. Under GATT, World Trade Organization was established in the year 1995 in July. If we see the report of 15 December 2005, around 153 countries were the member of WTO, and WTO had given a facility to do the agreement between the countries to do the international trade. Here are some of the bios, some of the summary of the WTO, that how it was established in the year 1st January 1995, and around 625 there are total staff members. The countries are 153 till the report of 2008 if we see. So World Trade Organization actually cover all the goods and services trade between the nation without tariff and non-tariff barriers. It also aimed to enlarge the production and trade between the nation using the world resources. It also helped in greater market access to all the countries whosoever the member of this organization. So overall, WTO have some objectives. These objectives are that to implement new world trade agreement. It also promote multilateral trade without any kind of tariff or non-tariff. It enhance the competitiveness among the partners, among the members who are the countries. It also expand the world resource so that we can use it, expand it, and utilize it in a proper manner. Just by help of the World Trade Organization, we will be able to increase the level of living standard of the global population, and also the economic development of the different countries can be speed up. To take the special steps, there was needed that there should be a development of such an organization. So World Trade Organization being established. Okay, so in short, what we have to study, that in this topic we have to prepare short note only. What was the World Trade Organization, when it was established, and what was the motto, functions and objectives of the World Trade Organization. Yes, India is one of the country which is the member of World Trade Organization, and we have, after the privatization and other LPG policy, we have removed all the barriers and all the restrictions on import and reduced the tariff rates. So that's why now it is very much easier to interact with the different nations. Okay, now the second we have to study in this, that is, what are the advantages of World Trade Organization? If we are not the member of World Trade Organization, what will be happening? And if we are the member, what is the benefit of it? If we are the member of the World Trade Organization, we will have free trade between the nation without cost of living. It also gives chances, more choices between the consumers, because many countries are participating and promoting their goods and services in international boundaries. It raises the income, trade income will increase at international level. Economic growth of the different countries will increase. Basic principle is that the system economically is more efficient, and they are cost benefit also. Means they reduce the cost which we normally do without taking the membership of World Trade Organization. This is the system based on the making the power, the concentration of power just to decentralize between the different nations. So if there is any dispute somehow while doing the trade, if there is any conflict or any dispute, World Trade Organization do interact in that, and also these disputes handled and removed. So if we are becoming the member of World Trade Organization, it will be beneficial for those countries. But there are some limitations also, that World Trade Organization has its own policy. If we are following the policy, then only we can get those advantages which we have seen. WTO is for free trade at any cost. You can't charge any kind of interest or any kind of charges. So it's a completely free trade. Okay, it did, but there is a lot of problem if we are going to do the jobs, if we are going to do the trade freely. So there will be so many losses also. So it destroys jobs. Naturally, whosoever is the member of the World Trade Organization, there are limited policies, and there are limited countries between there only the trade will be done, international trade. So most of the country wants to be member of the World Trade Organization. So what happens? It destroys jobs. It requires the highly skilled people, highly efficient manpower. So there are a number of people who are still not up to the mark. So jobs are destroyed due to the WTO, and also it created a worsened condition of the poverty. Small countries are powerless because they have no any concentration of the power into the World Trade Organization. If we deeply go into the topic, we can see the current scenario in the international market. China is having curb on the market. In each and every country, it has its stake. When shares of the China's companies are in each and every company, whosoever the member of the World Trade Organization. So they are taking over the market. So the small countries who are not so powerful, they become helpless, and also their economic condition become worsened. Weaker countries are forced to join the WTO. It's also by the UN and by the World Trade Organization, it has been suggested to them, it has been forced to them that you need to be a member of the WTO. If they are becoming a member of the WTO, they need to do the free trade, which is really will be cost effective for them, because they will not be able to earn, because they are very small countries that they want naturally income. And also it create non-barrier tariffs, non-tariff barriers. So here the problem created, and competition is cutthroat. So this is disadvantages. Overall, becoming the member of WTO is beneficial for those countries who are able to control over the market. For not all the countries, but yes, this is we have to study, and in that what we are going to study, how WTO is good for the nation, and how WTO is able to develop the economic condition of a nation, that we have to study. Okay, now this next is outsourcing. This term also came with the globalization. The globalization concept came that time, outsourcing concept also being taken. Outsourcing is what? It is a system of hiring business services from outside world. If we are going to hire any services from the different countries, like in the medical field, in the IT field, means we are outsourcing. So outsourcing you have studied in business studies also. There is not different, that is totally similar. Outsourcing is what it provide cheap labor easily. Okay, and it doesn't require much skill. It's a reasonable degree of skills is sufficient. There is no much competition. It's a lack of competitive market, and there is a lot of raw material which is cheaply available. And when we are going through the outsourcing, we will be able to develop our economic condition also. We have an example that there was in IT industry, there was revolutionary growth through the outsourcing. Apart from that, this chapter is about to end. Only two topics left, which we have studied. New economic policy. Was it a benefit for the country, or was it not benefit for the country? We have studied LPG policy. In LPG policy, we have seen all the liberalization. Under that, there were 5 reforms, and then we saw positive and negative aspects. Similarly, in privatization also, and globalization also. Now, in all, overall, the economic reform which we have done, was it good? So just have a look of positive and negative sides of total economic reform. This is very important topic. In this, the critical appraisal always been asked. Okay, so just to understand, when the new economic policy we implemented, what benefit we got? We had an increase in our growth rate, means GDP increased. Our industry, some of the industry become very famous, like IT industry, computers and software field. We were the top ones. We were on the top. It increased the government revenue also, so our national income automatically increased, and we were able to increase our foreign exchange reserve. If you remember, before NEP, the foreign exchange reserve was in deficit. India became an emerging power in front of the international boundary. We also shifted the monopolies, which was done by some of the companies. Now, monopoly become into the competitive market, and the poverty situation was also reduced. If we talk about the some of the structural changes we also did, like there was a contribution was shifted from the primary sector to the secondary and tertiary sector, and also export were promoted. So overall, if we see, the condition of NEP was very good, that we were able to control on inflation, we were able to increase our growth rate, we were able to increase our national income also. But wherever there is some positive side, there is some negative side too. So negative side is of NEP is that it created contradiction between the growth of and employment. If we see, it's a contradiction between growth and employment. Contradiction means it increased the growth rate. Yes, it's correct. But the generation of employment was not increased. Yet unemployment condition was continuous. It was sustained. Even unemployment, why it was occurred? Because public sector we reduced, we totally disinvested and given to the private sector, and private sector terminated all the employees because they wanted technological skilled people, modernized people. So because of that, unemployment increased, and one side growth also increased. So there was the contradiction between the GDP and the employment. Second, very important, that if we have seen minutely in overall NEP policy, what happened, we had focused only on secondary sector and tertiary sector. We totally ignored the primary sector. So there was adverse effect on agriculture, because public investment in agricultural infrastructure, like reforms in irrigation, power, roads, these all were reduced. Even fertilizer subsidy, which we have earlier we have introduced in green revolution, that also becomes so costly that small and marginal farmers cannot afford it. Primary sector was adversely affected with the NEP policy. Even the condition was like that, the many of farmers that time did committed suicide because of the losses in the agriculture sector. Third, there was low level of industrial growth. Though industry has been increased due to globalization, our economy was open to the greater inflow of the foreign currency. Even on the international boundary also, we were able to make our identity. Even after there was a low level of industrial growth, developing countries like India was not having the much excess of the market like developed country in the international boundary. We had a lack of infrastructural facilities, which like road investment and all. These all things were not we were having. Even our import was very, we had reduced the import duty, so import become very cheaper, and as compared to export, so there was a lot of problems. So our industrial growth was also very low. Fourth, we did disinvestment. Disinvestment means, you all, I think you understood, when the public sector part shares has been sold to the private sector. This is called disinvestment. And disinvestment was undervalued because the public sector was so worsened, they had not performed well. So we have sold the part of the public sector in a very low price. So that was devalued, that was not valued properly as per the market rate. So it was undervalued. This created substantial loss to the government, and government was also facing the shortage of the revenue because of the development of the countries. We were continuously doing the development also, and development of the countries cannot only be possible when the government is getting regular revenues, and they were getting regular revenues only from the public sector. Now the public sector has been disinvested, so the government faced a loss of substantial loss in this field. Fifth is fiscal policy was ineffective. How? Fiscal policy means, as I told, the government, when we talk about the government expenditure, that is called fiscal policy. In that, tax also comes. So fiscal policy, we have seen that we have reduced the taxes. Once we have reduced the taxes, naturally government will have to suffer the losses, because earlier they were getting, suppose earlier they were getting by the 10%, they were getting 1000 rupees. Now we have reduced to 5%. Now they will get only 500 rupees. So what will happen? 500 loss will be there. So tax incentive, we have given the tax incentive somewhere, we have given the tax concession somewhere. So overall, this one side it was given for the development, and the other side there was a losses in this field also. So our fiscal policy was ineffective because of reduction in the tariff, also decreased the generation in the revenue to the government. And there was inequality increased. Globalization brought that we are able to interact with the other nations. So other nation started coming and investing in our country. So what happened? Our countries, local people, local worker, local technician, local industries, they get inequalities. Means national companies, FDIs, they have been given more priority. So what happened? In India, Indian companies got ignored, or we can say they got less identity. Market totally driven by globalization. So it created disparity between the Indian companies and the foreign companies. So nation and the people, they all been fragmented. So NAP was criticized. These are the some of the disadvantages of, or we can say the negative side of NAP. Here the summary of negative side, if you see, that our sovereignty was at stake, because we have given freedom to overall at the international boundary, that any companies can come and they can invest in our companies, our local companies. So our national sovereignty was at stake, and it created commercial and political colonization, kind of. National resources was exhausted and it was transferred to the other country. There was a widening gap between rich and poor people, and it created losses, decline in the demand of domestic country, because we wanted to have the imported material. We have already been habitual to have the imported material. Even we were also not able to apply labor law properly. We were totally failing in this, and this created social inequality. If we talk about the gaps, if we have seen, I've already told you that the rich and poor people had a widened gap. I told, because we ignored the agriculture sector, the farmers started doing the suicide. Here one report we had that time, we have found that the 7 farmers end life in 48 hours. So this was the condition at that time. Even the domestic business totally killed at due to the LPG policy. So overall, we can see the LPG policy had a positive and negative effect both. In the next chapter, when I'll teach you for employment chapter, we can see with the diagram also that how LPG and the economic condition of the country, means GDP, how it was badly affected, which we are still suffering. Though our economy was able to overcome from the situation which we had before 1990. And this situation was totally really worsened, that our economy was going deprived down and down, that adverse balance of payment, adverse FDI, and adverse condition of the trade. So that's why we had to achieve some of the policy, we had to implement some of the policy which can be able to overcome from this situation. That's why NAP brought into. But NAP had ignored one sector, that is the base of the Indian economy, that is primary sector. We had not given any importance to the primary sector, only given to the secondary and tertiary sector, which created trouble, which created somehow distorted growth. Though we developed, where our GDP rate increased, but somehow at the social point and at the economic point too, means small scale industries were collapsed, and the GDP though increased, the poverty and unemployment situation was the same. So this was total the summary of the chapter, that is economic reform 1991. The conclusion, we can say that it's clear that the total over the year which we have spent over the decade and a half, economic reforms of India indicate that globalization result growth, of course, but other side, if we talk about, there was a lot of challenges also in the country, which challenges we will study in the further chapters. There are around 7 challenges we will study, and these are one of single chapter also. From this topic, I have already told you there are 3 chapters in this unit, which consists 12 mark. So this chapter is very important, and in this chapter include lot of theory. That's why I have given you in the slides, so that you can understand each and every theory, how to study this chapter. Next, we will study some of the important question and also the quick revision of this entire 3 chapter. If there is any doubt, if you have, you can ask. So complete the notes and do tell me if any doubt you have. All the best.